Welcome to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. We're here. We have interviews, MMA banter, and betting advice. This week, UFC 293, a big card title fight between Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland. We're going to talk about three plays here like we always do on the show. And we're coming off a nice performance last weekend at UFC Paris, cashing in a little over 7 units for clients. Great night overall. Saw a nice spot on Cyril Gane. That was my 4% play for clients. Did give it out here, but it was my top play. Waited for that line to come in, hit it at minus 160, ended up cashing pretty easily on that, as well as our 3-unit play on Saint Denis. Goes out there, just an absolute beast he is, cashes us in there as well too. So great night overall. An awesome podcast last weekend with Miranda Maverick on here. She ended up, that was my only loss, by the way. Last weekend, my only loss was a smaller play on Rose Namajunas. I did have her, and definitely Miranda liked the other way, thought that Rose was going to be too small, not have that power, and I thought maybe the quickness would be a little bit there, but Miranda was dead on, and Fiore got the job done, so credit to her. But we did cash in for 7 units for clients overall. Excited about this weekend coming up here. If you want to become a client, I can't talk, link it down in the description. Got all my plays there, got a 5-unit play up, plus money play, both actually my plays right now, 4 clients up, both plus money. We'll be adding more, probably 4 or 5 plays by the end of the week. And as well, if you want to get in on Underdog Fantasy Sports, there's also a link down there. Listen, I am giving out free winners for this. Last weekend, we ended up cashing $1,000. I give these out free every weekend on my Twitter at Kyle Anthony UFC. And if you want to check out those, also, there is a 100% deposit match up to $100 if you want to go on Underdog Fantasy Sports. So with that being said, and after paying the bills and all, because they are the official sponsor of the MMA Happy Hour, we're going to dive in right away to the main event of the evening between Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland. Now, this line here, pretty damn big, minus 650 on the comeback here, plus 450. That line consistently looks to continually creep up there as the days are going on. People parlaying them, putting them together. Now, before you kind of do that, let's talk about this play first before we do any action here and get a solid line on this spot here. So first thing here is Israel Adesanya. Absolutely, I mean, this line is wide, but he has the ability and is the rightful side, is the rightful favorite, should be a pretty large favorite in this spot. And again, for all the things that he is unbelievably great at, his elite level striking, his distance management, his footwork, his stance switching. Now, I always talk about that, and I'm so big on these stance switching types of things because it just really disguises the opportunities to strike, to defend. You don't know where they're coming from, what side they are. And Israel is just really smooth with that. You almost can't even tell he's switching stances. Even when you're watching, he just is very smooth, orthodox, a southpaw, firing shots from all different spots that really picks up a lot of great things. Now, this on the side for Sean Strickland, to be honest, this is probably the least threat that Israel Adesanya has had over years. I mean, over years, this is definitely going to be not as much of a threat when it comes to maybe some takedowns, when it comes to just on the feet. All those things don't really add up too well for Strickland in this spot here. And there are the things that did make him very, very good and get him to the spot. Again, he's a top guy. It's just stylistically a tough matchup for him. But what has worked for Strickland overall really has been the volume, the cardio, and the pressure. And that has been something that he can just wilt. He can push forward. He can push the pace. He can get in front of them, really, really push it forward. And that starts to really melt guys. He doesn't have one-punch knockout power. Now, I know we just saw Abus Magomedov, which just a complete joke of a fighter. I mean, what he was doing in there, I have no idea. And if you guys bet a boost, shame on you. But we did have Strickland in that spot. But in this spot here, it worked for him. He weaponizes that cardio. He can keep pushing forward, keep pushing that volume. But you go up against Israel Adesanya, I don't think the volume or the cardio even exists in this kind of fight, trying to have Strickland capitalize on it. There's no doubt that Adesanya has great footwork. He's got the pressure. He's got the volume. He can really, really, also with his cardio, we've seen him 5 rounds go completely fine. So there's no issue when it comes to that. Sean can't really capitalize on those opportunities. The one thing that he can capitalize on, if there is anything, is going to be the pressure. He has to pressure Adesanya, push him up against the fence, try to get his hands on him, clinch, make it dirty. Do not have some distance striking fight with him. Izzy is going to pick him apart. It's not going to be close, I think. But this is where that you've got someone like Strickland who doesn't really care. He'll go forward freely. He'll take the shots. He believes he's the tougher guy, whoever he fights. He was even doing that. You saw to Pereira. Pereira, who has massive power, he was trying to do that to him. Bully Pereira around in his face, throwing those 1-2 combinations, high volume. He got caught, fight over. So that may not work against certain fighters, but he could try to pressure Izzy, put him into particular tough situations, and make it tough for him. Now, if you're looking on the other side of this as the grappling, I don't think so. I don't really see Strickland shooting for legs, diving at legs, looking for takedowns, looking for this control time. I think that he will do it more as a change of pace, but I don't really see him, in general, just trying to dive at legs. That's just not what he does. He never has done it. And I don't think any of that's going to change. Again, I think he may incorporate it as a kind of a change of pace, getting Izzy thinking, but I don't think there's going to be a spot there. It's going to work for him. Adesanya, 77% takedown defense rate. He has done very well at that. He continues to improve that. So, and he has faced guys who are far better wrestlers, and he's done well against them. He's been able to kind of, keep them in certain spots and hold them up and keep himself up against the fence and have opportunities to kind of, create space. So for me, I just don't see where that's going to work. Plus the fact that, Adesanya is going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. He's going to have way better footwork. He's going to be able to work from the outside. Very, very tough, I think, for Strickland to cut distance, find a way inside. And again, if he can just stand and bully him, that would be his only path. But I do think the big target here is going to be those leg kicks again for Adesanya. I know that we talk about it every time there's an Adesanya fight, but really, that's the situation. You just see Strickland. He has not been able to really check them very well. He's very, very slow on his feet. He's not this, light-footed guy. He will just kind of slowly pace and plodding march forward, look to have that volume, utilize his chin, utilize his durability and toughness. And that's kind of been where he is going to try to find to look to have success. But I just think that the leg kicks are going to be there. He's going to be chopping at them heavily early, and that's just going to open up more opportunities for head strikes, body strikes. Again, Izzy has a wealth of opportunity for weapons that he at his disposal compared to the very boxing heavy approach of Strickland. So in this spot here, listen, minus 650. Yes, I think Adesanya does get the job done, but I think flipping this into a plus number, I think Adesanya via knockout is plus 115. I like that number. I think it's a good spot, a way for him to get the job done. Again, I think it's going to be death by accumulation, a lot of shots coming in, and then slowly it's going to slow Strickland down. I think that third, fourth round, you're going to see a finish. You're going to see him put it on him. And again, I just don't think Strickland has the weaponry to stand there over the 5 rounds and last. I think Izzy finds that finish on, again, this is a big card. Australia, Izzy's going to get the job done. I like Israel Adesanya plus 115 to get the job done in the main event. Now, the other one here we're going to be talking about is Alexander Volkov versus Tai Tuivasa. Now, I really hope I don't keep saying Volkanovski when I'm talking about Volkov. I screwed that up a couple times in other conversations with people. I'm like, who are we talking about? But here you've got Volkov. He's minus 250 on the comeback here. You've got Tuivasa plus 205. Now, you look at this here. You got the fan favorite in Tuivasa. Guy drinks beers. Fan favorite, but he's got power. He puts on a good show. He's a brawler. He's willing to move forward, exchange big, heavy shots. The other side here, you've got Volkov, who very, very high-level kickboxer, but massive for the division, 6'7", large frame for the division. And again, there are a lot of things that really Volkov, he can do well, which presents this number at minus 250 is, again, he's going to have the big advantage. I think the first one's going to be the reach. He's going to have 5-inch reach advantage. He's going to have a 5-inch height advantage. I think that already is going to make things very difficult. And I also like just the kicking arsenal that Volkov has. And one of the things that we did see Gane have success with was that front body kick. It really worked well against Tuivasa, who is willing to take as many shots to the face as possible, and then and kind of move forward. But those body shots are wilting. They're really, really, it's a soft spot, obviously, on Tuivasa, and it's a spot where Volkov take some advantages, utilize some of his kicking, utilize his range, his reach, and his power. And again, he does have power. He's got power in his hands. If he lands, he definitely can, hurt Tuivasa. Tuivasa obviously is a durable guy, but he will stand in the fire until he cannot stand anymore. So that's the situation where, again, I understand where this line's at minus 250 with a guy that has probably the better overall skill set, probably, has the better reach, has the height, has a lot of these attributes that you want when you're betting a certain fighter. But this number here is a little bit wide. And you even look at the Tuivasa side on what he does well. And I think the key for him, the first thing is really going to be his explosiveness and hand speed. I think that, to me, is going to help him have opportunities for countering, a landscape for openings for him when he's moving forward. And I think the key, again, volume pressure, utilizing the hand speed and cardio, using the hand speed and the explosiveness to really move forward, to really be able to kind of have the opportunity to push him up against a fence. Now, Volkov, he's slow plotting. He's another guy that just doesn't have the footwork. He's big, but doesn't have that footwork. And I really kind of see the situation where Tuivasa, who we saw what he was doing, where he, the way he likes to move forward and how he's knocking all these guys out is really just pushing forward, looking to land a big shot. But Volkov on this other side here is he can be hittable when, he's a great hammer. He's not a great nail. And when he's able to, somebody's able to move forward on him, cut that distance and force him to fight in a very tough quarter, is almost like a phone booth fighting kind of situation. That is where you can find opportunities and openings and countering opportunities to land on Volkov. That's where I think that you're going to see Tuivasa have some success when you're looking at that. Now, on the other part of this, that, if you can put him up against the fence, back him up, push him forward, that's where, again, he's going to open up the big hooks. He's going to land some big shots. It's not going to take too much to really put away anybody in the heavyweight division. When you got these guys who are throwing bombs at 260, it's not going to take much to really put a guy out. But on the other side of it is that you look at, I think that also why this line could be at minus 250, or why people may like Volkov and parlaying him and those kinds of things, is what Gane did to Tuivasa not long ago. So that was 2 fights ago for Tuivasa, but it's a very different situation. It's a very different skill set. Yes, they're kickboxers. They're both kickboxers, but Gane is way lighter on his feet. He has way better snapping kicks. His combinations are much better. He works his angles much better than Volkov. All these, and again, just very, very light. Anytime you saw Tuivasa look to really exchange and kind of push forward, Gane almost ran out of the corner to just create space, just to have space. Now, somebody like Volkov doesn't do that. He's not going to just kind of run or scurry. He doesn't have that ability. He doesn't have that agility, the athleticism or explosiveness that Gane has. We just saw what he did last weekend, how explosive he is, how good he is, how strong he is. And I just don't see those, again, skill set could be the same. We're talking about kickboxing and that kind of stuff. But when you're talking about how these combinations develop, how quick they develop, that starts to say, hey, that's not Volkov. Volkov does not have that. Again, he's going to have the reach. He's going to have certain advantages, but I just don't think it's going to work out for him overall. And you can't really, hate on Tuivasa. Tuivasa had 5 straight knockouts, yes, against some lower level guys, but 5 straight knockouts. Then he ends up losing to Gane, and then he ends up losing to Sergey Pavlovich. You can't really knock him for losing to those types of guys that are in such a high level and getting beaten against guys who are strikers, are going to stand and throw. Sergey, I believe, is really that next big thing coming up here. I would love to see John Jones versus Sergey. I would friggin' love to see that fight. But for this particular situation, I do like Tai Tuivasa here. I think this number's too wide. I think plus 200, anything over that is a great number on him. I think it's very, very live. Underdog in this spot. Now, you could think of the knockout. Knockout, I think, is right around the plus 280, 270 range. I understand that part of it, but when it's already over the 200 mark, I'm happy just playing it. And if anything happens or somehow they get out of this again, Volkov is a guy that's not easy to put away. You know, the guy only has 2 knockout losses. One of them was against Derek Lewis, which was that late knockout back in 2018. It was like the 5th round. He was winning the fight and gets knocked out. And the other one after that was Bellator in 2013. So Volkov is not a guy that gets sparked out easily. It could go the distance, maybe tie via decision is something, but I just like Tuivasa to get this victory. Plus 200, I'm taking him, is my other free pick. Tai Tuivasa plus 205. Now, the last one we'll quickly go over here is Carlos Ulberg minus 270 against Da Un Jung plus 235. So this is a spot here where I got to say something kind of before we get into this is I don't know how this fight, the bookings for Ulberg are just kind of crazy when you're looking at all of them overall, because Ulberg is a talent, man. The guy is elite level striking. He looks the part. You know what I mean? He's big, strong guy. Again, he has pushed over, from the kickboxing world over to MMA. He's shown some great ability, has some finishes, 5-1 in the UFC. His only loss is to Kennedy Nzechukwu, which was a tough fight for him overall. But you kind of look at what's going on with the bookings here, and he had some good fights. He was knocking out some guys, he beat some guys, but then you look at kind of what he ended up knocking out Nikolai Negumereanu. Negumereanu is a guy at the time, I think it was like 13-1, a tough fight for him. Nicholas is a tough guy, durable guy. He puts him out in the first round, and then after that he fights a guy that just lost to Negumereanu not long ago, and Ulberg fights him and knocks him out. So now he's got to fight against a guy who is 0-2 in what is he? He's 0-2 in his last 2, and has not looked good. And the skill set of what Ulberg has, I think, far is superior of what Jung has at any capacity here. And if you look at Jung over those last 2 fights, he looked horrible. I mean, the guy looked terrible. He ended up getting knocked out by Dustin Jacoby in the first round, which is a kickboxer, very, very similar to the skill set. I would say that you got to give Ulberg even more explosiveness, more, all of that quicker, more agility than Dustin Jacoby. And Dustin Jacoby sparked him in the first round. After that, he lost to Devin Clark, and he looked atrocious in that fight. 30-27 for Devin Clark. I mean, it looked like, Jung was unmotivated, sluggish, didn't really care, very slow. It didn't look like anything at all of a guy that you ever want to bet. And maybe that's why this line has even creeped up even more, but it just isn't a good spot. I think you have to really give all of the ability to Ulberg in this spot, where he's explosive, the kickboxing, the ability to really have that power behind it. I think the arsenal of kicks are going to really make it very difficult for Jung to kind of defend. I think he's slower a lot of times where he's throwing. I think he could be out of position, and he's at times, which I think kind of got him in trouble with Jacoby, was he can be, maybe not cocky is the right word, but I think he can be, more showy, and then all of a sudden Jacoby puts him out. So if he does something like that, Carlos is going to capitalize on those spots. And I just think this is also, could Jung get a takedown? I don't think so. I don't think that he has that ability. We've seen him do it in the past against certain guys, but I think in the big cage, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Ulberg to kind of move around, use his footwork, work at range. So in this spot here, I do like Carlos Ulberg, but I like him to get the job done inside the distance via KO. We're getting off the minus 270 number and climbing. I'm seeing that at minus 300 in some books. But the KO minus 135, give me that on Carlos Ulberg to get the job done via KO minus 135. So there you have it for UFC 293, the show here. If you want to become a client, take a look. Link down in the description for Wagertalk. I got my plays up right now. Excited about it. Again, if you want to follow some of my plays and my lineups for Underdog Fantasy, I give those out free on Twitter at Kyle Anthony UFC. So follow me over there, and let's get the job done again. 7 units last weekend. Let's get that again. Let's get 7 or better this weekend. Excited about it. Big card, and let's cash.